Good morning, lovely souls. How are you all doing? Well, I wanted to do a special live today. Last week we did this amazing festival, which was really based around love, and I learnt a lot about self-care. And I think really at this time, I'm noticing a lot more that beautiful friends and family are telling me that they're sitting in that place of overwhelm and anxiety. And that is totally natural. I just want you to know that to start with. It is such a natural thing with all that is going on right now to have some of that inside. And so I really wanted to come to you today and share with you some tips that I use. My journey has really been, I've had anxiety and depression most of my life. I'm so much in a better place now, but it was because of these sort of tools that I've used over that time to help me get back to a better place. And I know now when I'm starting to feel anxious, the things that I need to do. I actually messaged my beautiful trainer this morning because I've sort of been MIA with our boot camps online. But for me, I knew last week that I was getting really anxious because I was training inside, working inside, living inside. Everything was based around the house. And as much as I love and I'm so grateful for our house, I really needed to be able to get out of the house this week. So I've made such a conscious effort this week to actually step out and go to the beach, go for a bushwalk, even go down to the park. I definitely know that is not always available to everyone. So I wanted to share with you some tips that I've been using, so hopefully it might help you on your journey as well. So my number one is basically not to overload yourself. So I know just as I came on live, there's a live happening at the moment from our premiere, which I'm sure is amazing and very informative. But I find if we are watching that stuff constantly, like I can't watch the news at all anymore, I find that sometimes we can get overloaded with all of the information. Obviously, there's a lot of really important information in there, and definitely think that, we need to know some of that, but try and be really picky with the information that you're taking on. And that not only goes for the media, the news, things like that, but social media as well. So this week I've had to put a few groups on mute, and I've really set clear boundaries on when I can pick up my phone and things like that, because otherwise it just gets too overwhelming and it's just an overload of information and craziness. So tip number one is don't overload yourself with your social media or the media in general. Just really set some clear boundaries on when you're going to be able to watch that or what you're going to take in. Number two tip is to get out in nature. Now, as I said at the start, I know this isn't the case for everyone, but if you can, if you have a backyard, if you have a balcony, if you are blessed like us and you have amazing beaches close by to you, you are still allowed to exercise in Queensland. So I've been getting out on the trails and running with the dog, going to the beach just for exercise. So if you can do that, definitely do it. And if you don't have that stuff sort of at your close to you, definitely just head out on your balcony, in your backyard, anywhere you can see nature and touch nature and breathe the nature. That kind of thing for me is such an amazing tool. I know for me, I've moved closer to the beach probably 6 years ago because I was working in the city and living in the city, and it was just too much for me. I need to be near the beach. I grew up at the beach. So the ocean for me actually helps calm me down, especially if I'm feeling really bad anxiety. I go to the ocean. If you can't do that, there's so many amazing audios and meditations that you can get on YouTube that have nature sounds, ocean sounds, all that beautiful stuff. So might mean that you need to get a little bit like, you need to improvise a little bit, but definitely do it. It really can set your mind at ease. So my number 3 tip is to find something to do. So if you're finding that there's a lot of time and you don't have anything to do, I'm blessed enough to be able to work at home, so that keeps up most of my time. But if you are not working at the moment and you're sort of struggling for things to do, have a think back to when you were a kid and what did you really love to do? Did you love to draw? Did you love to paint? Did you love to do puzzles or dance around? Just really tap back into that inner child, and not just for right now, but for always. Always like tap back into that inner child and work out what those things were that you loved doing as a kid, and just bloody put them in your day, because they're the things that you want more of in your life. So have a think back to what you really love to do and start adding that in your day, especially if you're finding that you've got not many things to do. One of the things that used to really help me, it actually helped me years ago when I was giving up smoking, was actually painting, because I'd get so lost in the painting that hours would have passed and I would have totally forgotten, the urges or the, wants for a cigarette or whatever it was. So find that thing that helps you totally take your mind off it, and then, start practicing it during the day. Or find a new hobby. Go and do something that you haven't tried before but you've been wanting to try for ages. Go and do some gardening, or, find something. There's so many things out there. But I know when you're sitting in a certain place, it's really hard to see the other side. But trust me, I've been there with you before. And these are the things that I had to put in place to help me get over to the other side. Now that things are a bit slower, so my next tip is basically take this time, give yourself the self-love that you deserve, but also look at your nutrition. Start nourishing your body with really good foods. A lot of us aren't moving around as much. I've noticed I used to train in the mornings and then I'd walk my son to school and then I'd walk and pick him up and we'd walk home. And then, all the running around during the day, like if you had things to do. We're not doing a lot of that anymore. And so the time that we're spending, at home means that our bodies are not getting that movement it used to. And what I was finding was that I was eating a lot more in the first couple of weeks because I was like emotionally eating. And so not doing as much moving and eating a shitload more, it's really not a good combination. So now's a really good time for you to really nourish your body. Find those amazing foods that nourish you, whole foods. Don't eat the crap, because you're only going to end up, So holistic health coach here talking. When you put the crap in your body, it sits in your belly like a garbage can. And if it's not whole foods and it's full of preservatives and stuff, it actually sits and ferments in your belly, which causes a lot of sickness. And I know for a fact from my own health that my belly health was what was causing my foggy brain and the rest of me not to function. So if you make those few changes and start eating a little bit better to help your body, you'll notice that your mind's a bit clearer as well. So that's definitely a big tip from me. And I know when I've started to sneak in like the takeaway foods again, I'd notice the difference in my mind straight away. So if you can, try and just cook. I'm finding I've got heaps of time to cook amazing food again now, like to get back to bases. So if you have that, definitely start cooking beautiful and nutritious foods. If you don't have that availability, when you're choosing takeaway foods, try and look for ones that have the most nutritional content that you can. Because I know it's not always available. I know that if you, don't have it readily accessed, it can be hard to try and keep that up. but there's so many different ways around it, okay? And then my last tip is really just to connect. So I know that technology, thank God for technology, because I don't know how we would have managed, and I know people have managed through something like this before, but I have a lot of beautiful friends and family who, if they did not have technology to be able to connect with people, they literally would not have seen anybody, or been able to talk to someone, or been able to ask for help when they've needed help. So I'm so thankful and grateful for technology right now. And in saying that, I think it's a great opportunity for us to connect with each other through there. So if you are feeling a bit isolated and you're finding it's really hard on your mindset, then organize a call with your family. Go onto either Zoom or Facebook video so you can see their beautiful faces. And I know it's not the same as being able to touch and hug and kiss, but it is the next best thing, and right now it's better than nothing. So if you have the opportunity, definitely connect to those beautiful people online. I know, my family and I, my friends and I, the business community I'm in, we contact on a daily basis, and I tell you that helps me with my mindset. Hey, Em! Oh, thank you guys for watching. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing good, Em. I heard you on the radio this morning, by the way. So this is just these are things that I'd really love for you guys to have a think about, because the last thing, this is a really good time for us to turn inwards, I guess, and start looking after ourselves a little bit better. And it can go two ways. When we let that anxiety and depression take us over, it puts us in a place that we don't want to be in. So if we start looking at ways we can pull ourselves out of that to start with, start working out. I know I did an amazing interview on the podcast yesterday with Rochelle Marie, and she talks about setting up a toolbox of things you can turn to when you're starting to feel that. And not only is that great for your mindset, but it's also, on the mindset thing, it's good because when it starts happening, I have control. I can flip it. But when you're starting to feel the anxiety, you also have things you can choose from, because the same thing doesn't always work. I can vouch for that. The ocean works for me, I would say 90% of the time, but other times I don't want to leave the house. I literally don't want to leave the house. Now I sort of got my wish and I want to leave the house. But when I'm feeling like I don't want to leave the house, I have to look at other ways to help that mindset. And sometimes that's just doing yoga at home. Sometimes it's sitting outside on the grass in my backyard, or sitting in the sun and watching the birds and the butterflies, or listening to Louise Hayes and positive affirmations. That's helped me heaps as well. So whatever it is for you, work out the things that make you happy and can really help shift that feeling when you're in it, and then just take note of them, write them down somewhere. Know that next time you're feeling that, you can turn to them and really tap into that so that you can pull out of that feeling. Plus, if you are ever feeling like that and you really don't have anyone to speak to at the time, please feel free to reach out to me. I have been there so many times myself, and I know often we feel like we don't have anyone to talk to, or we don't want to bother anyone, but you're not being a bother. If you need to speak, you need to speak. If you need to just touch base with someone, then touch base with someone. Don't ever feel like, you're bothering anyone, because you're not. I know for me, I would rather my friends and family call me and tell me that they need to chat than the other. And I've had beautiful friends who have gone the other way, and I don't want that for anyone else. So I'm going to hop off here before I get upset. I just want you to know that there's always people out there to listen. Definitely find the things that fill your toolbox so that when you're feeling low, you can tap into it. All right. I love you all lots, and I hope you're all doing well. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll chat to you again soon. Bye.